There's a million different ways to make money. Learn how to do some marketing. Learn some things just to make your first sale. Once you get your first sale, it gives you that rush. And then you'll keep on going. But it's got to be something that you're loving. If you do it just for the money, it's never going to work.
Welcome to the Bucket List Life Podcast with Trav Bell, the world's #1 bucket list expert. Bucket List Life's mission is to help you get off the treadmill, stop Groundhog Days, hack your habits, and live a regret-free life. Because we know life's way too short not to live your bucket list life. So please welcome your host, Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy.
Hey Bucket Listers, welcome to another episode of the Bucket List Life Podcast. Oh my God, well this conversation is going to go north, south, east, west. I can guarantee it. Brian Swan, the unstoppable surfer. I already love you, brother, the unstoppable surfer. You're in Bali right now. Mate, how were the waves this morning?
Well, the waves were not quite as what I expected. I thought it was going to be overhead and barreling. I live right here in Uluwatu. Bingin is my break right out front, and I walk out with my dogs. I go out with my daughter. It was only head high, warm, no barrels, but, you know, this is something. Then I had to come up, go the cold plunge, and then be on with you. So it's all good.
Well, it'll be barreling a little bit later.
Yes, it will.
Damn Bali. I've got FOMO already.
I think I'm going to be seeing you here from what I hear.
Yeah, dude. I've got plans to get over there. I've been to Bali a bunch of times and surfed all around there. And yeah, no, I've got plans to get there at the end of the year. And look, potentially might be a shift. I don't know.
Well, I'll take you out. I got a little street cred down here if we go out first thing in the morning.
Sweet. That's what we need. I need some localism. Mate, so how do we start this? Look, you're in Bali. I first came across you probably about 15 years ago. I have been the bucket list guy for, well, about 13, 14 years, maybe in 15 years. I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm starting to lose my memory, I think. But when I came out, quote, as the bucket list guy, someone called me the bucket list guy, like I shared in a previous podcast, solo podcast. You guys were already running around the world as digital nomads. You and Rhonda and your newborn at that point in time, I think.
Yes, Anale was 1 year old when we started our travels.
There you go. Beautiful.
She's 17 years old now.
So you were already the unstoppable family. This is early digital nomad life, right? This is early going from big bricks and mortar businesses to escaping the 9-to-5, 4-hour work week, which we've talked about. What was the impetus for that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And first of all, man, I just want to thank you for being on your podcast. I got to listen to your story. And I know, like, a lot of times when you have interviewers and stuff, you don't get to share yours. So the first podcast I listened to was your story. I'm like, man, now I'm connected. And man, this guy, I wanted to just give you a little cred, franchising the whole thing on personal training and what you've done in the bucket list. Hands off, man. So thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, man.
Mate, you can thank me later with a few waves later.
Yes. No worries. Well, I'm going to back it up to where, okay, so we were before there was even a word called digital nomads. It didn't even exist. So it was we left on San Diego, November 25th, 2008. It's actually tattooed on my arm here. My daughter, she's done all my tattoos on my whole body. I'm not going to show you all my tattoos, but
your daughter drew that. Now, for people listening to this, Brian's showing is what is your forearm there. So she did all the tattoos.
She's done my tattoo, my back tattoo. So essentially, my back tattoo is this.
That's huge too, yeah.
She's done it when she was like 11, 12, 13. So I told her I didn't get tattoos until I was 45. And I said, my whole body, because she's an incredible artist, I said, I'm only going to get tattoos from you. So she's done all my tattoos.
I wouldn't trust my kids with a freaking pencil.
She didn't do the actual tattooing. She did all the designs. Then I have one guy that's my tattoo guy. But here's what it came down. So I was a robotics engineer for 10 years, and my wife is one. She made a vow. My wife Rhonda. I've been together with my wife for 26 years. I'm 50 years old now. 50 years young. I'm in the
couple
health
goals. Hashtag couple goals.
Nice. I'm the strongest I've ever been at 50, bench pressing, everything. And I'm like, this is, in order to just keep on going, it's got to be fit. And this is the way. So I'm going to back it up to how the whole thing of when we started our travels. And it was back in the 07, 08, the financial crisis. We were invested heavily in San Diego, multi-homes there, golf course development out in Flagstaff, Arizona. And like we just put all chips in. We were making tons of money. I had a robotics engineering job. My wife, she was in pharmaceutical sales back then. And then she went into a meeting one morning, and also being in the pharmaceutical world, she realized that she was killing people more than she was actually helping people. And that's how
a whole other episode, ladies and gentlemen. That's a whole other episode.
And I can go deep down that rabbit hole, but we'll keep it for another one.
Keep it in session 2, mate.
But she went into a meeting one morning, and a woman just had she was late for this meeting, and the boss says, "You're late." And it's like, if you want to keep your job, you're going to be here on time. She goes, "I'm sorry. I just put my daughter, who's 6 weeks old, into daycare for the first time, and it was a hard time." And she goes, "If you want to keep your job, you're going to put your daughter into daycare at 7 a.m. and you're going to pick her up at 6 p.m. And it was that moment, my wife, she came back to me, and we were up in North County, and I'm trying to think of the name of the break now, but we always got our coffee, right? And we're checking out the surf. Sometimes we surf before our work. And she said to me, she goes, "I'm never putting my future children in daycare." And we didn't have kids at the time, but we just bought another $1 million home and all this. Everything was going incredible. And I said to her, I go, "I don't care if I'm my boss's boss's boss. If we leverage ourselves so much that I'm never going to have enough to be able to afford all our stuff." And she goes, "Well, why don't you get a better paying job?" And I said to her, "Why don't you find something that you can work from home?" And my wife, she's a tough fucking business.
She doesn't not fuck around, yeah?
Hardcore. And she goes, "Done." And she searched stay-at-home mom on Google and came up with this website of this woman making money. This is way back in the day. This is before YouTube, before Facebook. Instagram probably wasn't even thought about at this time. So this is back in 2004. And she set off on learning. It was all in personal development, high ticket events before the law of attraction, the movie The Secret, the movie hadn't came out. So was it this?
God, we're going back here on, that deep personal, that start off personal development era, like that's crazy.
And, you had a little Tony Robbins and stuff. And she goes, "I'm going to figure this out." And she just started learning how to market. And she literally retired me about a year later. And this is when things were just rocking. We just kept on investing more in real estate. And the guy, he pretty much scammed about 20 families, just ruined the families. And it was the job of the loans where they went bankrupt on countrywide loans. And we're stuck. We're not getting out of this. We're hopeless. And what happened from that moment, we had to make a decision. And I listened to your podcast, so we have this thing in common about the 4-hour work week. I had already been listening to the 4-hour work week book by Tim Ferriss. He had this chapter in there that said the mini retirement, that you can live anywhere in the world if you have something that is automated or something online. And I'm like, we're about ready to lose everything. I don't know what to do. We got a huge home. We can live there. And it came back to when, and I'm going to even go back further. My father died of AIDS when I was 16. But between the age of 11 to 16, I got to see what death was. And what I mean by that, he knew he was going to die. He didn't know if he had 6 months to live, 1 year, 2 years. He thankfully lasted for 5 years, but there was a moment when I was 11 years old where nothing mattered to him anymore. We had big business back in the Midwest, so I never surfed. I was 1,400 kilometers away from the ocean. He's like, who wants to go to Europe? And us kids were like being in a little cornfield town of 2,000 people. I got to see the world from 11 to 16, go to Egypt, ride camels, go to Greece, go to, South America.
You had none of that.
And it was this, oh my God, there's a bigger world than this little anthill that we lived in. And it was from that moment to where that just became who I was. So I went to, when I was studying robotics engineering in University of Illinois, which was amazing, 40,000 undergrad, Big Ten football, USA, fraternity sororities. But it's like, after my second year of partying and just I'm like, there's got to be something more to life. And this is where I became Australian. So I consider myself part Australian. I thought there was only 2 countries that spoke English, and I wanted to go study abroad besides the USA. Literally, that's what I thought.
Wow.
And in Australia, I'm not going to the UK because that's cold and rainy. And I chose Australia when I was 5 years old. I would watch on ESPN Surfers Journal every Tuesday night at like 5 p.m. And I was intrigued with this surfing thing. So lo and behold, I went to Perth, learned how to surf. My mate.
You went to Perth?
I went to
Perth. Of
Perth.
all places, the most isolated city on earth.
Yeah. And I had an Australian roommate, and I was just learning to surf, and he goes, mate, we got to go to Bali. And I said, what's Bali? And this is in 1995, so I came in 1995. I didn't know anything about Uluwatu, Bingin, Padang. I was doing the beach break at Kuta Beach at 20 years old, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Little did I know that I was going to be living here in Bali. To wrap it up, how it started is we lost everything.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh, I was going to say that, like, did you hold on to everything and just, like that gave you and this is, I guess, learnings for people listening to this, is that, not burn the boats, but it's like, well, it happened to you. You lost everything. You didn't leave with a cushion of passive income.
No, literally, I think my wife says it was like $12,000 and a baby. And we are already working online from the 4-hour work week. We're like, we can build this internet thing's not going anywhere. So we just doubled down on learning how to market, learning how to brand, kept on doing personal development. So we rebuilt our lives on the road. And it was a thing from my father where we never had the conversation, but he had an expiration date. So when I do talks on stage, my wife gives talks. My daughter, she's just did a big talk at ClickFunnels for Mastermind Group, and her talks is like, what do you want to be now versus what do you want to be grow up? I talk about what if you knew your expiration date, and if we start living in that way, I said to my wife when we realized that we're toast. There's no way to get out of this. We're done. And my wife looked at me and she said, I vowed never to put my children in daycare. And I looked at her and I said, we never are guaranteed another day in our life. And lo and behold, this is from the 4-hour work week. At first, I was like, what if we got rid of everything? My wife's like, no fucking way. And then I kept on replaying it.
The thing is, right, like that minimalism, that digital nomad thing, working online, guys, if there's a part of you, if there's a little itch there that you want to scratch, it's going to get fucking worse. It's going to get worse, not better. And at some stage, and I say this with coaches, if there's a part of you that wants to be a coach, speaker, author, thought leader, and you've got a mess that can become your message maybe in due course, and you've got a heart for helping, If you've got a heart for helping, like that is an itch that will not go away until you scratch it. Though I've got it, I'm covered in this rash, bro. So what was the kind of like the first way you guys made money online? Because that's really foreign still to a lot of people.
It is. It's crazy because it's just how my daughter's been raised in this world. So this is what she knows. So when people are like, how is it to be this? She goes, I don't know anything else. She's lived in 20 some countries. Like we've been in like 50 different countries. But what happened is my wife, she was already on this path of personal development and listening to, like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar. I started getting into sales. So I was Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and she got into this business was about personal development and having events that were these. And so when she got started, it was already aligned with where she wanted to go. She was like, I get to make money, learn how to do this internet digital marketing, and grow as a human being and surround myself with people like that. So I was the robotics engineering, like, what the hell are you doing? And she brought me to an event, and the event was like the speakers of personal development. So it was this, how she got started was just like typing in stay-at-home mom. If this woman can do it, I can do it. And we just learned how to market. It was like started learning personal development.
I can't imagine, dude, yeah, she's sales. You're a robot. You're an engineer. My two twin boys are looking at being engineers as well. Safe to say, they're a different kind of beast. They're a different kind of personality. I can't imagine a robotics engineer, jumping up and down at his first personal development event, man. Like you'd be like, what the fuck is this cult?
I was like, when they're talking about the money they're making, I'm like, I want to see these bank accounts. I'm like,
yeah, show me the money.
But you know what's crazy, man, is that when I was at the event, there's 2,000 people there. And I was sitting back like this, but I'm like, well, what if they're right?
Yeah.
What if there is something about this? I'm like, they just want to live a different life. And we're so programmed on go to school, get a job, work, like corporate or whatever, and then you retire. That's a bunch of BS. And so after like day 2, day 3, I'm like, this is interesting. I'm like, I'm learning stuff. I'm becoming there's a whole different world out there. And that's what got us. And, it's like, I remember my wife, she's like, I had a $47,000 a month. And I'm like, what? And then it exploded from there. She retired me from my corporate job. And then I was all in. And then we're doing the real estate investing. We're like, we're going to crush it. And then, bam, we get locked.
I guess the different ways back then, and there's a million ways to make money online now, like Amazon. You can create a store, you can be affiliate marketing, you can do network marketing, you can do coaching online, which is the path that I chose, and being a speaker, selling all sorts of different digital products, drop shipping, like courses, etc. And so, but back there, like we it's interesting. I always say, I've been working online for 15 years now, let's say, 14, 15 years. Before it was COVID cool. And I reckon the COVID and the pandemic moved the needle on, for digital nomads. It moved the needle for online business probably 5 years. We're thrust into using Zoom. We're thrust into using all these tools. And, now big companies like Microsoft, even the education industry, are now looking at 4-day work weeks, not 4-hour work weeks, but 4-day work weeks. And they reckon they got more productivity out of people working 4 days a week rather than 5 days a week. So there's, all the productivity studies, during COVID as well, of people working remotely, it fucks up culture. If you get it right, great, but it screws up culture. If you've got everyone scattered all around the world, in coffee shops and whatnot, but working from home, not everyone is good at working from home, but certainly it's second nature now. But back in the day, it was so foreign, wasn't it? And you guys were full pioneers at this shit.
No, dude, when we did this, I thought from the 4-hour work week that there was going to be heaps of people doing it. And when we started our travels in 2008, literally for 2 years, we did not meet another family, maybe like an individual. And they thought we were freaks. Nobody knew what we were doing.
Well, they're all YouTubers, really, YouTubers and bloggers.
Yeah. And we were carrying, like when we were doing our business, we're carrying our laptop on our shoulder, walking around the beach. And they're like, what are you doing? We're like, we're doing business. And they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, well, nobody could understand it.
Probably back in the internet cafe days.
I don't even, there was
before there were hubs.
Yeah, dude, it was
anyway.
So wild. And, you know, it was, we just knew, we knew that this is where it's going. And the whole thing about, and I think this is such a powerful thing that I want to, in your message, and me coming together, the people that are listening, there's never a fucking right time for anything. And when you keep putting things off, there's going to be something else happen in this, and you're going to make excuses. But that thing that you shared earlier, it's like, it's a burning thing that, man, you just got to do it now because you can get hit by a bus tomorrow. COVID 2.0 or whatever.
Yeah. What do you say to people that are scared and they're all, you know, they're in we call it the matrix all the time. What's the first step? So I was going to kind of ask this a little bit later, but, you know, while we're on topic, people listening, watching this, they're in their comfortable job. We got an 89%, 89% engagement, disengagement rate in the US. We've got about 70% here in Australia. And the UK, that means 70% of people are rocking up to work and they're just not into what they're doing. And no wonder we've got this perfect storm of mental fucking health at the moment. You know, gee, I wonder why, because we're all fucking depressed. But what are the first steps? I mean, you can burn the boats, good on you, won't last. What would be your first 1, 2, 3 steps for a person going, you know what they're saying is maybe on my bucket list? How do I break the mold, so to speak?
Well, if you're looking at, there's a couple things. One, the easiest thing to do is like just go take a trip somewhere, right? It's like what happened with a lot of the people that were following us as the Unstoppable family. They thought they could just quit their jobs and then learn it on the way. Dude, it's horrible. Unless you got a lot of because when you're traveling and doing stuff, you can't figure this stuff out while it's a recipe for this. So first step is just find something that there's a million different ways to make money. Learn how to do some marketing, learn how to do branding, learn some things just to make your first sale. And if it's on Amazon or something, it gives you that, once you get your first sale, it gives you that rush, and then you'll keep on going. But it's got to be something that you're loving. If you do it just for the money, it's never going to work. Like my Instagram, the reason I did Unstoppable Surfer is because nobody has to ever tell me, hey, did you post? Or like, I'm just documenting my life. And so you got to do something that you're connected with, but it's taking that first step, because people think about this like I got to do this. Like, no, just take the first step, start doing this while you're working your job, and in doing this while you're, so it's like always just taking that one first step.
I want to share something just there that I've never shared before too, Brian, it reminds me, it's just sparked a memory that when I started my journey, I said to the guy that worked with me at that point in time, I said, mate, if I can, this is out of personal training, if I can get this bucket list thing going, if I can make $1 online, I can make $1 million. I've just got to be able to systemize that $1 first. And yeah, like what you're saying is, and what we want to pay forward to the watchers and listeners is that just make it $1 online. Then raise the bar, 10, 100, and make that 100 reoccurring. All right. So what does that mean? You're not just selling one product on Facebook Marketplace and, oh my God, I made money online. No, dude, it's got to be reoccurring, a monthly reoccurring. What does that actually look like? And then it goes from 100 and 1,000 and off we go. But what you're saying is learn those skills whilst you're in your position.
Absolutely, man.
Love that.
You have to, because I've seen so many people crash and burn to where they think this is just some easy thing to where I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start traveling. Oh my God. Because when you start traveling and doing that, it's like you can't figure out a time. You already got to be disciplined. But I'm not talking, it doesn't have to be a couple year thing. Just start learning this, getting to where you feel uncomfortable, making your first money. And then when you can make the transition, but you have to take those first steps, you know?
Yeah. So unstoppable branding, your unstoppable family, when did it become unstoppable branding right from the word go? What is that all about? What is the unstoppable family, I guess?
So, all right, this is a funny one. So when we started, my wife, when she started online, we realized that we had to have our own brand and we didn't know what to call ourselves. And so our last name is Swan, and we called it Swan Lifestyle.
There you go. That sounds like a retirement village.
Or a swingers club.
Yeah, there you go.
When we started marketing, people would like, is this a swinger? And it kept on happening. And I'm like,
Honey, guess what? What? Well, we're going out to dinner tonight, and look, we're going to make money online.
Literally, it happened where we came up with the Unstoppable Family from like 100 meters from where I'm at right now. I'm going to do a quick little just turn. We are in my office. I'm in Bingin, like Uluwatu, Bali, and there was a place that we lived 100 meters from here, and it was in 2009. My daughter's 2 years old, and we're like, we have to come up with something more creative because we're already traveling the world. This is in 2009, so we've been traveling for about a year, and my wife read a book by Cynthia Kersey called Unstoppable, and we said, why don't we call ourselves Unstoppable Family? And so we became the Unstoppable Family, my wife, my daughter, myself, and then everything became Unstoppable. So Unstoppable Surfer, Unstoppable Branding Agency, and the Unstoppable Branding Agency just came about while we were working in affiliate marketing and personal development, selling courses and high-ticket events. What we realized from the get-go, and the companies always wanted you to just talk about them. And we're like, no. You have to brand yourself first and foremost because people are buying you and what you do. And the course and anything behind it is great. So we were really good at being able to brand, doing videos, being able to market. And then whatever we had, we're like, hey, here's the opportunity. And when we did that, our teams, we would be able to create their brands. And so we're always like the top income earners. And it was just out of what we did is like, all right, well, let's just have Unstoppable Branding Agency. So that was over a decade ago. And we started creating brands, like, not just like brands, but like story videos, having them come to events, being able to share content. And then from the branding agency, we are like, well, how do you build your brand image? You build your brand image by speaking at events, being on podcasts like this, PR. So we got really into the PR world of, being able to put people into Forbes, building their entrepreneur success, building up their online real estate. So that's the best way to describe it is like when people Google your name, what are they going to see? If they don't see anything, it's kind of the reality of like, for instance, when companies are looking for people to speak, they're going to Google your name and they don't see anything about you. Next. So we've become really good from building. We started with being able to kind of get out of the corporate world, right? And then the more we did that, we're like, man, a lot of people are like, this is what I'm doing. And we shifted to like high 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, brands, companies, individuals building their personal brands. So it just evolved. So that's kind of how it came about.
The interesting part about that too, having dealt with a lot of coaches, speakers, thought leaders over my years as well, there's that, I guess, clash of going, all right, I want to work online. I'm not really online. I've never been online. I disdain social media. Never going to do a fucking TikTok dance. Don't even try me. And there's that imposter syndrome, and here's the spoiler alert, guys. If you want to work online, you've pretty much got to be seen. You do. You can hide behind a nameless faceless logo if you want, but people buy people. And FYI, and this is coaching advice for everyone out there, the whole world is not sitting there ready to just hate on you, being like keyboard warriors as they are. They're so busy with their own fucking life. They're too busy to be hating on you. So get over yourself, easier said than done. Take those little baby steps and start getting that attention, because with attention, where attention flows, cash flows as well. So, I love what you're saying, that branding, that personal branding. Is that right? Can you confirm that? The more, the more.
Yeah, it's the personal branding is so key. If you look at, like, let's say Apple, you think of Steve Jobs, think of Virgin. Who do you think of? Richard Branson. You think of, like, so all behind Elon. You think of Tesla. You think of SpaceX. Do you want me to tell you the story about Elon?
Now, I've got here your Elon story, robotics engineer. Let's just, okay, personal branding. Let's put a bow around that for the minute. Come back to that. Elon story. Go for it.
Right. So I was living in San Diego. I was a robotics engineer. So I got to cover all of California. I started covering the West Coast of the United States. And I was a high tech, but I was in sales. So I was called a business development manager. And they trusted me at 22 years old to be working out of my house, which was crazy. But so I lived in San Diego. I got to surf before every morning. And you've got to think about the time frame of around, this was like 2002, 2003. And I would get these leads. I'd call them up and I would go to people's garages, just like, like an Apple or an Amazon. And I would sell them some robotics engineering stuff for like $20K. A month late or a year later, they have a huge building funding. It's crazy world living in, Southern California. And I get this lead and I'm looking at it like SpaceX. They want electromechanical thrust, space rated actuators. And I'm like, who the heck is this?
And I don't even know what the fuck you just said. Like, is that a product?
This is a product.
Okay.
It's basically these things that screw-driven, high precision.
Don't worry. My Australian mind can't handle this.
So I get this. I call him up, and I said, "You are a rocket scientist?" And he's like, "Yes, I am. I'm a rocket scientist." And I'm like, "Okay, so this is." But I'm working a corporate job, so I get commissions, but I also have salaries. And so he goes, "I need to get these ASAP. This is on a Monday." And he goes, "When's the fastest time you can get to our building?" And I type in on Surfline's on there, and I'm looking for a south swell at Trestles. And I look, and there's like a new south swell coming in, and I'm like, Wednesday. I'm like, okay, if I get out there first light, I can get to.
You're describing my work week. You're describing my week right now. I've got a 7-day forecast on Surfline premium, and it gives you the 7 days. Then you adjust everything around it.
I think I've had Surfline since the day it started. They were actually in San Diego, Huntington Beach area. But so I said, I'll be there. I forgot my water. So I had an incredible session at Lower Trestles. I'm going through, was it Hawthorne? It's right by LAX. And it's like in the ghetto. And I'm like, I'm going to get carjacked here. I show up at SpaceX. You don't know what SpaceX, because they never shot a rocket, right? So you don't know what it is. I get there, and it's in these hangars, and I go up. I ask for the gentleman, Mr. Elon. He comes. I shake his hand, and I go, "And you are a rocket scientist?" And he goes, "Yes, I am." And I start laughing. He walks me down this corridor, and when he comes up, or when we walk out, there's a 100-meter rocket on the floor. And I'm like, holy shit. I go, "That's a rocket." And he goes, "I'm a rocket scientist." So he walked me into this boardroom. There's like all these other rocket scientists. I sit there. I make a call to my division. They're like, "Yes, we can do this, blah, blah, blah." I walk out of there, and my boss calls me. He goes, "Hey, nice $60K order." I go, "Wow, I haven't even left the parking lot yet." And he goes, "Who's this SpaceX company?" I go, I don't know, but they have a rocket on their floor, and they said they're going to like they're going to be the first people to do private satellites. And like Elon shared with me the whole, like his vision. So I got to listen to it. I wish I could have like recorded it. What is?
How long were you hanging with Elon for?
Just like a half hour.
Wow.
Yeah. That's it.
To see the impetus of that now seeing, just the other day, catching that rocket coming back in those, they say, chopsticks. It just blows your mind, doesn't it?
No, it does. And you know what? I forgot about it because then I left my corporate job, and then SpaceX, the rocket went up. I'm like, I'm on that one.
It blew up three times and succeeded on the fourth.
Well, repeat orders. So I don't know. I don't get commissions from it anymore, but I think they're still using our stuff. So
that's unreal. Look, how do you create your perfect day? I know you do a lot around this, and I do too. But you guys no doubt have vision boards, what I call bucket list boards. Like how do you create your typical perfect day, your kind of typical week? From and kind of start stepping into it and start living it. Your bucket list life is as another definition.
All right, I do a thing at the beginning of the year, making my impossible unstoppable game. Then I break it down into quarterly missions, and then each month I do a monthly mission. Each week I do a weekly thing in order to get to this impossible game. But let's just break it down to something that somebody can utilize right now today. Okay, so the people that are listening, get a pen and paper out. I'm going to give you some homework, but this is called the surf method.
Here we go.
I had to create a thing. My wife goes, well, why don't you create it? You're a surfer. I'm like, so every time I do talks on stage, I said, it's a surf method. I thought it was kind of cheesy at first. And I get so much feedback. This gives me little actionable steps that I can do every single day. So the surf method, what it stands for is S is set up your day for success. The U is uncover, discover, declare. I couldn't really figure out something for the U, so that's how I did the U. The R was revenue generating activities, and the F is family and friends.
Oh, wow.
So set up your day.
Okay, stop there, mate. I've got IP envy right now.
IP envy, yeah.
Intellectual property envy right now. I love that. You've told your target market right now. That's me. Yeah, set up your day. Uncover, discover,
and then revenue generating activity, and then family and fun. So I'll break this down for each of you. Okay. And this is what I did before I met you. So it's 8 o'clock is when we got on here. All right. So my day usually starts at like about 4:28 a.m. I just make it 4:28. I'm up out of bed, and I have these little things that like, all right, I always have little treats of like, get up out of bed. It's easy to sleep. I don't have anybody force me. I'm working, I'm my own boss. It's like, at least walk downstairs, let the dogs out. So this is just easy stuff. Then I do these activities, but it's usually before 9 a.m. I don't have any of my notifications turned on my phone. I don't reply to anyone business-wise. That is the time to where I put myself in power. And you have to be very selfish for yourself before you can take care of anybody else. The oxygen mask, right, is like take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else. So for me, I get up, and this is a new thing. I've been reading the Bible. Out of 50 years old, I haven't been reading the Bible until now for the last 60 days. That's part of my routine. I get up, I do some light stretches, I go for a surf, I do the cold plunge. These are just these activities to get me engaged. That's the setting up. So like, even if the surf is not good, I'm still going down, Mother Nature. Now I'm surfing with my daughter. The U is uncover, discover, and declare. So then I come back up, I'm listening to an audiobook or podcast, something that is going to give me information. This is the uncovering. Okay, so this is what it's key about it. It's not, we can listen to, like, for instance, people listening, they can listen to every one of your podcasts. They can get all the information, but if they don't discover how they're going to utilize this information. We're just information overload, and put anything. So you have to,
information, infobesity, as I call it.
I want to use that if you don't mind. And then you declare it. So I listened to, I had a thing today. I'm part of Warrior.
We'll talk about that with Garrett. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's declaring it. So I was listening to Warrior and like, how am I going to apply this into my marketing and sales? Something to where I'm going to utilize it. So that's the discover. And you're declaring it is by even doing like a Facebook Live. So even while I'm I'll do like a live, sharing something that's going to give value. And that is the uncover, discover, declare. Typically around 9 o'clock is where I'm going into revenue generating activities. And it's 3 things that I have to tick off my list, because a lot of people, they're saying I'm busy, but are you doing things that are actually going to push the needle for you to generate revenue? You can be busy all in the world, but if it's not creating content to actually generating leads, putting people into a sales process, and if you're like working as an employee, think about the things. You'll be the most valuable employee if you can start bringing revenue to a company. And when you do that, your boss or your manager, you are going to be way over if you're just doing stuff. So you have to do things that are going to push the needle of revenue generating activities.
That's cool.
That until about noon, right? And I can go on, but it's knocking off these 3 big action items. And I'm just saying 3. You can have a laundry list of like 50 different things, but what's going to push the needle? So then in my afternoon, I go into the things and I start doing things like maybe creativity, long-term stuff. But, and then from there, family and fun. 5 o'clock, usually we're shutting down. Or now my wife and my daughter's big into fitness now. So we've been going to the gym at like 6:30 at night. Just went last night. Then we have dinner, maybe just have a talk, and then go to bed. But that's the thing.
That is gold. I love that. Learning, putting stuff back into the grid, integrating. I'm loving the U, and definitely there's some reminders on the R too. That's perfect. I love it. So cool. I'll steal that, quote you. You've got infobesity. You're welcome. So, and you teach this, yeah? You're teaching this stuff, whether it be on coaching programs, school, coaching programs. You've got, you're doing talks. Talk to me about how the Wake Up Warrior thing has gone. Tell me all about that.
Yeah, man. It was probably 6-7 years ago that I started digging into how can we make some video sales letters that are so engaging that you don't drop off. And it was for our Unstoppable Branding Agency. And I started following Garrett White with Wake Up Warrior. And I watched this video that you just couldn't leave. It was like an hour video, this Las Vegas video. And I'm like, we have to incorporate that. And I'm like, when I'm doing this to kind of like funnel hack and to like get a script, I was like, he's talking to me. I'm being the best version of a man on your body, having it the most, the fittest. Your body's a weapon, having the best relationship with your wife, your kids, relationship with God, spirituality, and then your business, and living by a code. And the more I started digging into, it's like, I need to be a better version of myself. So on all 4. So I started tiptoeing into it. And then it was 2 years ago, I just read this message. I was in Japan snowboarding, and I made a declaration, I'm going all in on this. And I started into what they call the Warrior Launch and then the Council. And I've been full on in it in 2 years. And it's like just radically changed my life on giving me a structure of how to navigate daily, weekly, and then even doing yearly. But it's living by the code, and I've gained like 15 kilos of muscle over the last 2 years. The relationship with my wife, my daughter, never been tighter. Started reading the Bible, like never done this, but spirituality, and then your business, man. Making big moves on what we're doing on the land development, our branding agency. I'm also doing clients for training as well, mentoring. And that's kind of where it's spun up.
Yeah, I had Garrett's best mate, Keith Yackey, on the podcast. I've become good mates with Keith, and we're always swapping messages. He's a relationship coach, how to get laid within your marriage, and, it was really cool. He's a good man. And, I'll hopefully get Garrett on in due course. And, mate, day in the life, got it. Talk to me about moving to Bali. This is personal now.
Yeah. Well,
good move.
Yeah. So I've been here for 9 years. I came here in 95, as I shared with you, and I fell in love with it. And that's where I learned how to surf. And so when we lost everything financially in 2008, and we said we're going to go do a 2-year trip around the world, 2 years has turned into indefinite now. We went to Hawaii. My daughter's named Hanalei after we got married in 2003 in Hanalei Bay. Some of the best surf. And we said we're going to go to Bali. So we came in Bali in 2009. We went in 2004 as well. But between 2009 and 2015, we lived in 20 different countries. And, people were blown away. Like you've been to all these countries. Your daughter, she's went to all these schools learning different languages. She goes, everybody's number one question was like, what's your favorite place? And I always would say Bali. So 2015, we came back and we said we're going to at least spend a year, maybe 2 years. And then it just kind of became our home. Now we've been doing, building, we're growing our roots. I'm really connected with the local community on especially the surfing community. And it's kind of where I consider home. So it's like our home base. We travel to the U.S., do speaking events, travel around the world. But it's like, this is our home base. Good base to be in.
Yeah. Mate, you don't have to sell it too much to me. I'm definitely on the brink, and I'm on the cusp of literally only a month away from being an empty nester. So I'm the stepdad to 4 kids, and the 2 youngest kids are about to turn 18. They're just finishing year 12 exams, their first exam today at the time of this recording, October. So we'll be all done and dusted. They turn 18 on the 7th of December. And then I won't know what to do with myself. But I'm sure I'll keep myself busy.
Can at least show you, you know where I live. Unfortunately, you're going into the rainy season, so it's not going to be the regular dry season, big swells, offshore winds all day.
You've had some good waves over there recently, though.
Oh, October was one of the best Octobers I can remember since it was pumping, and I got to get a sweet Padang barrel. I was going to go, there was only 7 of us out at Padang for 2 hours. And I got
holy shit, and that's normally got hundreds on it,
It was
it's
crazy.
nuts.
And I was about ready to go out, but last year I had my best barrel of the season at Padang on my last wave. I ended it. This one I was like jonesing to go out more. I'm like, no, this was a really good one. Let's just have it. God's just like, all right, you're good. So
yeah. Describe for non-surfers what it feels like. Because I could easily, but I want to hear it from your words. Because I grew up as a surfer. I've surfed. My dad was a surfer. I've surfed since I was born. So used to be a competitive surfer, sponsored when I was younger. And yeah, but basically surfing is a second nature to me. So I don't kind of look at it from the outsider's point of view too much. Describe, what does it feel like when you get a barrel, a proper tube?
It's interesting. It's kind of like, I don't know, every time I come out of a proper tube, like a Padang tube, I'm always, I like in the sun, because it's always in the morning, and it's just like, I pray to God, I'm like, wow, it's like just a euphoric thing. Even like when you're catching your first wave, I'm gonna back, I don't know to describe it. It's just like, it's the ultimate of nothing matters, and it's like this condensed moment of Mother Nature all coming together, and when it shoots you out, I don't know, you're just kind of like anything that matters, it doesn't matter anymore.
Guys, did you just hear and watch that? I just asked what it's like to get shot out of a barrel, to have a tube. And this guy who's been talking all day was speechless. And he couldn't find the words. And that's exactly why we surf. And that's why we travel all over the globe. That's why I believe it's worth being a digital nomad for full circle. That's the dream that we chase, because it's the most connected, I think, one of the most connected things you can do with Mother Nature, right?
It's hard to describe. You never know until you have the saying, the surfer, only a surfer knows. You got to do it. I didn't grow up surfing. I was 1,400 kilometers away. So, but I've been surfing for nearly 30 years, which is crazy. But I'm still I can surf all the big waves. I'm just not as good as what all these young kids with.
Well, the Balinese are pretty damn good these days. So, hey mate, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, I'm Brian T. Swan. So T is in Thomas. That's my personal. You can also go to unstoppablefamily.com. And I'm on Instagram, Unstoppable Surfer. And those are the best things. If you want to do branding PR, it's Unstoppable Branding Agency. So if you go to my website, Brian T. Swan, everything's kind of right there.
Beautiful. Mate, I can't wait to see you in Bali. Thanks so much for your time. You've got to go and get some waves, real waves, and I am meeting a friend, and we're going to go and surf urban surf today. So we're both ditching this and we're going surfing. So I love that, brother.
I love it, man. Thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate it. It's I'm always grateful and humbled when people want to be able to connect and be able to share stories. And if for when I post this to my people are going to be like, oh, I didn't know of you. And this is just a big thing on we all have a story. And when you think you don't have a story, you do, but you just got to be able to start. It's that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, like the quote from the Tao. And so, if anything, take the first step while you're listening here on whatever that may be, so you live your bucket list life, because you're never guaranteed another day.
Boom. Guys, follow, like, subscribe, watch, share, love, heart, thumb, whatever it is, engage, review. More importantly, implement. Don't suffer from obesity, as we said before. Implement, be an action taker. Until next time, thanks a lot for watching and listening to the Bucket List Live podcast. Until next time.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bucket List Life podcast with the world's #1 bucket list expert, Trav Bell. For more great content, go to www.thebucketlistguy.com. We'll see you next time.